Get those chain effects on there. Come on, let's go. Chain! Fuck yeah, man. Get the fuck out of here, man. We're gonna start with the Dust Tornado. We're gonna go back. Bam. There it is. Jacob me in RL says, no. Jay Gesson says, oh no. What the fuck? I destroyed it. Set, spell a trap for it? No. What in the fuck is going on? I need to contact the QA department. It's a bug. I have identified an enormous flaw in this game.
Alright, my personal favorite dual trial event is back. The Time Travel 2004. I don't know if this is the exact same ban list we had for the last 2004 time trial, but I think it actually is, because we even have the exact same loners the last time. So yeah, and if you still have your deck saved from the last dual trial, I think that'll work for this event too. But yeah, I'm really excited to play this. One, because honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the current format. I know a lot of people are sick of Azamina Fiendsmith slop literally every time they play ranked. So if you want to break from all of that stuff, and if you don't want to just dive into the new season immediately, like if you want to change the pace, come play this dual trial with me and with all of us, because I've just played games with just a bunch of loners in this deck in this event, and I've had so much more fun than I've had in like 90% of my games last format. So yeah, let's discuss the loners first of all. The game they give you 6 loners, okay? They give you 6 decks to play with. Obviously, some loners are better than others, but if you just don't even build your own deck, and if you just play the loners, especially the good ones, I'm sure you'll have a ton of fun, because there's even a bunch of variety with the loner decks, and they're honestly, for the most part, they're decently built, as the good ones are at least. But also, what's nice about this event is, maybe I'll make a video later on possible decks you can play, but most decks here are very budget. Like, the core cards are majority just N and R rarity. It's like an NR event with just a few staples, because, Pot of Greed and Snatch and all of these staples are URs, but the thing is that these URs, unlike in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, these are just staples. They're random cards. They're not part of your engine. So you can, technically, any deck you play can function without these staples, like Pot of Greed, if you don't want to craft them, or like you don't want to create another account to play with them, which is completely fine. And another important thing, these staples are not game determinative at all. You will see many times my opponent opens Pot of Greed turn 1, and we still won that game, because we end up outplaying. You can outplay your opponent over the course of like 10, 15, 20 plus turns. And if the game drags on for 20 turns, what's really the big deal of a +1? Like a +1 in a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That lasts for 1 turn is a big deal. A +1 over the course of 20 turns, honestly, almost irrelevant in terms of card advantage, because it's one, like, both of you have access to like 30 plus cards at that point, so like them having 1 extra card over you during that time span, not the biggest deal. And yeah, at last event, I played my custom decks, which didn't have any of these UR staples, and I was beating the brakes out of my opponent, who did have these staples in their decks, just because, well, you can construct your deck to be better than, you can construct the other 35 cards in your deck better than your opponent, and you can outplay your opponent in like the micro game, in which yes, there is micro in old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Just because there's like so many interactions and so many turns of interaction that happen in a game. So yeah, speaking of the loners, my opinion of the loners, we have the gadget one. The gadget one was from the same loner from last 2004 dual trial. I think this is the best one. Just frankly, the gadgets themselves, it's a simple concept, right? You have monsters that replace themselves plus 1 for 1 removal. It's very simple. 3 Judgment, 3 Saku, 3 Raigeki Break, 3 Smashing Ground, Creature Swap, Snatch Steal. Like, this deck is insane. This deck beats 80% of decks you can just construct normally, like actual constructed decks that you can build for this event. But I mean, it's not much to say. Like, every gadget, you normal summon 1, you get another gadget, so you have an infinite supply of monsters, and then while you have an infinite supply of monsters, your opponent is running out of monsters because they're just getting hit by removal. And if they're not playing the gadget mirror themselves, then their monsters don't replace themselves. So they're gonna eventually run out of monsters, while you can just simply attack normal summon gadget every single turn for like 9 turns and just beat your opponents in facing with an infinite conga line of assholes. So yeah, this is the best one in my opinion. Next we have the DD Different Dimension Swordplay one, which I think this is like arguably the second best one. So this is a very funny one. So the gimmick with this deck is that it runs 3 DD monsters: DD Warrior Lady, and DD Saiyan. All 3 of these monsters banish your opponent's monsters. DD Warrior, anytime it battles, it banishes both monsters you and the monster it battles with. Assailant destroys and banishes them, or doesn't destroy, but it banishes a monster that destroys this card by battle. So again, very easy removal. Pretty much every monster in here is like a sort of a spot removal for your opponent's monster, and DD Warrior Lady is the best one because you can control when you banish your opponent's monster. It's not mandatory to banish your opponent's monster like with DD Warrior, and it's 1500 attack. So if you don't want to banish with DD Warrior Lady, you don't have to, and you can always banish your opponent's monster if you do choose to. Unlike Assailant, which Assailant can't banish monsters that are smaller than it because it has to destroy this by battle, whereas DD Warrior Lady can banish anything. But yeah, combined with Breaker and Tribe Infecting Virus and Exiled Force, and 2 Reinforcement of the Army, so you should have access to one of these monsters almost every turn. So you're never going to get run over by big monsters, just because anytime your opponent establishes any big monster, you can just trade 1 for 1 with one of your own DD Warriors. And then you have Berserk Gorilla, the Simo's signature monster, which is honestly very bad in the mirror match, which you'll see, because Berserk Gorilla gets outed by every single monster in this deck. So the fact that it's 2k attack doesn't actually mean much when it just it's vulnerable to all this spell removal. We have the Sabos obviously, and Novan, and we have Smashing Ground too, and a bunch of backers. This is also a control deck like Gadget. I wouldn't say it's not as good because unlike Gadgets, these monsters don't replace themselves. So you are liable to run out of monsters if you just throw your DD monsters at your opponent and then they keep banishing themselves. But yeah. Also, isn't there a oh yeah, this is the card. Return from Different Dimension. This card is really cracked in this deck because all of these monsters banish themselves. So in the late game, you can flip Return and then get 3-4 plus monsters back in one push, and then go for game. Like it's actually quite broken. And also you have MST, Dust Tornado, Heavy Storm, Master Duel. This is why Burn is not that great in this format, because there's so much backer removal, and Burn takes a while to actually establish game. It's not like a one-turn kill Burn like it is in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It takes a bunch of time for everyone to kill you with Burn. So if you just draw into these spell trap removals that you have, even Magic Drain kind of counts against stuff like Level Limit Area B and like Wave Motion Cannon. Then yeah, you are the one that's in a, like, you're in a winning position versus Burn if you happen to draw into these, which chances are you probably will, because you have 10 plus turns in this format and you run multiple forms of spell and trap removal. And yeah, other than that, just a few standard traps and so on and so forth. Next we have the fusion one. This one, I still think this one is ass, because this, unlike the first two, this one is a combo deck, quote unquote, except the combo payoff for this deck is summoning a giant vanilla monster, like summoning Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon and Meteor Black Dragon. You know, these 3500, 100, and 2800 attack monsters. The problem with this is not only are you investing multiple monsters into these fusions, but also you're investing a fusion spell. So you either have to have Fusion Gate, which is a card that its only purpose it serves is to fuse and nothing else, or you actually use up a card like a polymerization to make the monster. So you're investing upwards of 3 cards into one monster, which you know what these monsters lose to? They lose to literally any form of spot removal. Like any one of these, like 20 plus cards in this deck, outs your dumbass like large fusion monster. So you just go super minus on these to summon them, and then they get hit by the 1-point removal, and then you're way behind. So the only way you're generally gonna win this is like if you super high roll. Like if we're talking fusion resolve fusion gate for multiple fusions, and then dimension fusion back all your banished monsters. And then hopefully your opponent doesn't have like a torrential or any more removal, or hopefully they don't have a way to out your fusion gate, which again, spell trap removal is not uncommon in this format, so they can just, you know, MST or like Dust Tornado fusion gate, and then suddenly that plans out the water. And not gonna lie, a lot of times you just open hands that can't fusion summon, because if you don't open the fusion substitute, or you don't open Red Eyes or Summon Skull, like what are you gonna fuse, right? Like Barrel Dragon, Blowback Dragon, like if you don't open these specific fusion materials, plus a way to fuse, you just end up with a deck that you're just playing a shitty chaos deck with like no back row and no staples, and just like a bunch of bricks in hand, like fusion substitute, or like a bunch of useless fusion spells. It's not great, but you know, it's funny if you can get it off. If you're into high rolling your opponent, then you can play this deck. Next we have Gravekeeper. So the reason Gravekeeper sucks, why this deck sucks, is that this deck depends on Necro Valley, but there's no way to search Necro Valley. There's only 3 copies of this, and again, spell and trap removal. Okay, your opponent has more spell and trap removal than you have copies of Necro Valley. So not only do you need to see an unsearchable 3 of, but also it needs to like not get popped by an MST or a Dust Tornado. Otherwise, your deck still sucks, because Spy is a decent card, but it's only 2k defense, and it doesn't really apply pressure by itself because its attack is so low. Guard is the same way. Spear Soldier, this card is complete another dog ass. Like this is just a vanilla most of the time. You have Gravekeeper Saiyan, this card is only good if you have Necro Valley. If you have Necro Valley, this card is sweet. It's a 2k attack monster that can basically attack either the lowest between your opponent's monsters, attack or defense. So this can actually run over any monster in the game, in the format, pretty much, if you have Necro Valley. But if you don't have Necro Valley, this card is also a vanilla, so it's dog water. You have Cat. This card is so bad. This adds a trap from your deck to your hand if you have Necro Valley. If not, it top decks the trap, and you have to wait for next turn to draw. This is so bad. Like this card is so dog awful. Speaking of dog awful cards, Gravekeeper cheap. Why are we playing tribute summons in Gravekeepers of all decks? Also, Gravekeepers, we're playing Call of the Haunted in Gravekeepers, because certainly there's no anti-synergy of Call of the Haunted, right? And Necro Valley, like, clearly not, right? I found that the only time that this deck is playable is when you play the mirror match. Because if you're playing the mirror match of this, then between you and your opponent, you have 6 copies of Necro Valley. And because Necro Valley is reciprocal in terms of the attack it gives your monsters, and in terms of your monster needing Necro Valley on the field for its effects, then between you and your opponent, hopefully one of you should open 1 Necro Valley, so that both of you can start playing the game. Because otherwise, both your decks fucking suck. But yeah, I've had some bad experiences trying to play this loner deck, but also had some funny experiences. So it's not unplayable. It's just sometimes you wish Konami was a bit more careful with their deck building, or thoughtful with their deck building. Next we have the Horus owner, which was the same one from last dual trial, and yeah, this is very simple. You just attack with Horus monsters. Every time these Horus monsters attack, run over your opponent's monsters, you can tag into a Horus monster of a higher level, and then eventually the goal is to get into Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8, which this is a infinite. This negates spell cards non-once per turn. It negates every spell card your opponent can play. Now, you also have Royal Decree, so you might be thinking Royal Decree plus Horus the Black Flame Dragon. If you get that off, you just auto win, right? No traps, no spells. Again, if we go back to something like the DDD deck, this deck, every single monster outs any monster your opponent has. So, in fact, even if this deck does not have access to spells or traps, it still has plenty of outs to Horus the Black Flame Dragon. And with constructed decks will also be running cards like Exiled Force and monsters that actually do out monsters themselves. So, this isn't like a guaranteed auto win, even if you get the lock off, which you are going to get the lock off a lot of times too, because this deck is sometimes inconsistent, and sometimes this deck doesn't play any defensive cards. So if you open slow, like a hand with a bunch of monsters, you can just get run over easily as well. You do play Metamorphosis too, but you only have 1,000 Eyes Restrict. This is like the biggest thing. Like, if this deck had multiple 1,000 Eyes Restrict, I would actually consider this deck quite a bit better, because you have access to Metamorphosis quite a bit. You do run 3 of this, but also you have Magician of Faith to be able to add back Metamorphosis. So you will be able to have access to multiple Metamorphosis a game oftentimes, except you only have access to 1,000 lives restrict. So that feels kind of, after the first one gets outed, it feels kind of meh. But yeah, this deck has a good matchup against the Gadget Loner, surprisingly enough, because the Gadget Loner depends a lot on trap cards for removal. And if you just access the Kree, who cares about Horus? If you just access the Kree, then you shut down a bunch of your opponent's deck. You're the strongest removal in your opponent's deck too. So honestly, this deck is actually decently well positioned against some other loners too. So yeah, this deck's fine. And then we have this deck. This deck is not fine. This deck is so ass. Okay, the idea with this deck is you have Spirit Monster. Spirit Monster return to your hand. So like you don't establish any board position. So you should use Ultimate Offering so that you can summon multiple spirits a turn. So that it doesn't matter if they return to your hand, because you can just summon them from your hand anyways with Ultimate Offering. Now, the alternative to this would be, instead of playing Ultimate Offering and Spirit Monsters, to just play a bunch of good monsters. That way you don't need Ultimate Offering to make up for the downsides of your Spirit Monsters. You know, because all these monsters suck ass. The only good monster is Tsukiyomi, honestly. And that's partially because this deck plays Tsukiyomi plus Magician of Faith. So theoretically, this deck can do the Magician of Faith Tsukiyomi loop, where you Magician of Faith add back a spell card from your graveyard every turn. Just possibly think of a spell card you would want to add back. And then Tsukiyomi flips the Magician of Faith face down, so that next turn it gets the same spell card back from your grave. So if you loop this with Pot of Greed, that's brutal. Unfortunate thing about this deck is this deck plays no protection. Okay, this deck plays a bunch of monsters that can't be destroyed or that are hard to get rid of in battle, but it doesn't run any defensive cards. So there's no way to actually protect your Magician of Faith. And without being able to protect your Magician of Faith, then your opponent can suddenly run over your Magician of Faith, and then it's really hard to establish Tsukiyomi Faith when you don't run the cards that actually protect your Magician of Faith. You could argue that yes, during the battle phase after your opponent attacks, you could Ultimate Offering set the Magician of Faith from hand, so that your opponent doesn't have a way to attack over it, and then on your turn you flip the Magician of Faith face up, and then you can normal summon Tsukiyomi to flip the face down. Technically, that works. If you open a 3-card combo for like turn 3, it might work, but like that's, I mean, we're like way beyond Disneyland at that point. We're in fucking Epcot if you're trying to resolve that kind of combo. And the Dark Dust Spirit and Yamato Dragon, Hinokage, these are like neat cards and all, but they're tributes and they're spirits. And you don't have, there's no Treeborn Fog in your deck, there's no infinite tribute source, so you're gonna actually just lose cards every time you summon these. It's because you're gonna have to retribute them every turn. It's actually, Yamato Dragon's okay, Hinokage Sutri, it's funny, but a lot of times your opponent doesn't have a full hand to discard anyways. And Dark Death Spirit is like nice. Dark Death Spirit is like honestly one of the coolest plays you can do, because your opponent enters battle phase, you can Ultimate Offering summon Dark Death Spirit during your opponent's battle phase, and then nuke their board on the battle phase. That's one of the cool interactions with this deck. One of like the few good interactions with this deck. But otherwise, this deck is kind of ass. Like a lot of times, you're just gonna draw unplayable, or you're gonna be sitting behind Marshmallow and Spirit Reaper, hoping your deck does something, and your deck doesn't because you're playing a bunch of Spirit monsters that don't do anything. So. Yeah, that being said, you can have some entertaining games with this if you play against other bad loner decks. But yeah, again, these loners, even the worst ones, they'll get the job done. You know, they're pretty decently fun to play still. Just because we're playing a lower power format, it's fun to play bad decks that are like you can get away with playing bad decks more often in this format because it's lower powered, obviously, compared to modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And yeah, we'll see. Let's see these loners in action. So here we're playing with what I believe to be the best loner, the gadget loner, which definitely have some gadgets in my hand right now. Definitely we draw into product greed into no gadget monsters, which is not ideally you would want to draw a gadget monster in your gadget deck, but you know we're gonna make this work. So we're gonna set 2 and immediately get Heavy Storm. That's fantastic, you know. Made up for the +1 off the Pot of Greed. Honestly, you know, you should make an argument that I should have played around it. At the same time, better fucking have it, bro. Better fucking have it. Then they're gonna activate Swords Revealing Light. So, normal summon Exiled Force, and pop the Mechanical Chaser. So it wasn't a big deal because our opponent didn't really have any actual real play. They just literally used the Smashing Ground on my Mechanical Chaser basically. So now it's like I have this MST in hand, but here's the thing about old school Yu-Gi-Oh! You have all the time in the world. So I could MST this and attack, for some damage, or I could normal summon Red Gadget and summon a gadget every turn, get a +1 every turn since I top deck a gadget, and then just wait for the Swords of Revealing Light to disappear itself. And once it does, I'll be up a card on my opponent for free because the sword goes away, and then they just lost that card forever. And they're gonna normal summon Twin-Headed Behemoth and tackle with Red Gadget, which honestly does not matter because the gadgets replace themselves. So end phase, I'm gonna MST the new one. I don't even give a shit about the Swords of Revealing Light. I'm in no hurry. So yeah, normal summon Yellow Gadget, add a Green Gadget, and set a Sacred Red Storm. Don't have to play around Heavy Storm anymore. We got hit by this Heavy Storm, so we did go minus, but now we don't have to worry about this for the rest of the game too. So at least that's something. And now they're going to normal summon Jinzo, and Jinzo attacks over Yellow Gadget, which again does not really matter. I take 1200, so I'm at 6600. So, but who cares? I still have like most of my life points. And we top deck a Snatch Steal. And here I'm gonna be really patient. I could Snatch Steal the Jinzo and attack and apply pressure after the swords goes away. But no need to use my Snatch Steal. No need to use it. In fact, I would rather just get the Jinzo off the field. That way my Saku and my Torrential Tribute are live again. So yeah, I'm gonna just normal summon Green Gadget. I'm just gonna smash and ground the Jinzo. And now the source goes away. So now, after all that's said and done, our opponent has 3 cards left, and we have 6. So we got a +3 on our opponent for doing absolutely nothing. They minus themselves. They mind you, they went +1 on the Heavy Storm, but then they minus themselves tributing over the Twin-Headed Behemoth, and they minus themselves playing the Swords of Revealing Light. Meanwhile, all we did was use the 1-for-1 removal, the Smashing Ground on our Jinzo, and then that basically made us go plus on the Jinzo because they invested 2 cards into it, and we only invested 1 card to get rid of the Jinzo. And now they're going to normal summon Ron and Captain, special Protector of the Sanctuary, which gets met with a Torrential, which is again another plus because the Green Gadget went even. It added us. It went +1, and then we just Torrentialed it, so it went even. Meanwhile, our opponent lost 2 cards, so we went another +1 in that exchange. And now I'm going to normal summon Red Gadget, and our opponent. It doesn't matter the life points at all because our opponent has no cards, and we still have a steady supply of gadgets every turn, and our opponent has nothing, which should be expected because they expended all their cards already. And now I'm going to normal summon the Yellow Gadget, and this is just a slow, painful death. We're going to accumulate pluses every turn. We have 2 back row. We have a creature swap and a Snatch Steal in hand in case something goes terribly wrong. And they're going to set another one, which is going to get met with an end phase Raigeki Break. So they had the Call of Honda for the Jinzo, but that wasn't going to work. There's like 5 different reasons that wasn't going to work. And now our opponent's finally in kill range. We can normal summon the Injection Fairy Lily, attack, pay 2k, because we could still, even letting all those attacks go through, we still had enough to pay for Injection Fairy Lily 3 times. So again, you just don't rush in life points if you don't have a need to. You can just play the advantage game and just play the long game. That's what old school Yu-Gi-Oh is all about. So here, this is honestly maybe the best game of this format that I've ever played in the 2 times this event has shown up. So our opponent goes first and opens pot 3, which is not ideal, and then they're going to set 3, which is also not ideal. Fortunately, we do have a Nobleman, so we have a Nobleman to clear their monster, and they're going to Magic Drain it. So here, I should have just discarded Nobleman and Crossout to negate the Magic Drain. It would have been the same thing. Instead, I let it go and I activate the second Nobleman and Crossout, but that loses to a second Magic Drain, which is very, very funny how I played into a second Magic Drain. In case you're wondering, if their opponent's playing Magic Drain, they're playing the DD Loner, and we're playing a mirror match. So, yeah, things get really simplified really quick because I just spent 3 cards. I spent 2 Noblemen and 1 DD Warrior on turn 1, when our opponent spent 2 back row plus a DD Warrior of their own. So, unfortunately, they opened pot 3, so they're up +2 on us. And you're normal summon the Warrior later, which I want to get out of here because I want to establish Berserk Gorilla and it just applies some pressure because I'm really behind on cards right now. But yeah, I'm gonna activate Heavy Storm. This might look like an early Heavy Storm, but at the same time, my opponent my logic is my opponent didn't set another back row. So they were clearly not playing around Heavy Storm at the start, because they set 3, even though I guess they technically had Magic Drain, but I wouldn't feel safe relying on Magic Drain to protect 3 back row. But if they didn't set anything, probably they don't have another back row anyway. So normal summoning Berserk Gorilla just to eat a back row, and then me losing my Berserk Gorilla, and then them still not having back row for me to plus off the Heavy Storm didn't feel worth it. I feel like I needed to establish some tempo, because again, we're in a simplified game state, and a Berserk Gorilla is a very good pressure. Although admittedly, Berserk Gorilla is not that great in the mirror match, because every monster outs Berserk Gorilla. So that actually, yeah, our opponent decides to snatch the Berserk Gorilla, which is, I don't agree with the snatch deal, because the snatch, you could just 1-for-1 trade the Berserk Gorilla instead of using your snatch deal. But we finally get our Pot of Greed, so I'm gonna Pot of Greed and draw 2. And here I'm gonna normal summon a tribe, and I'm gonna discard the Berserk Gorilla to get rid of the. I'm gonna discard Saiyan to get rid of the Berserk Gorilla, attack over DD Warrior. So I did go minus there, but we established a Call of the Haunted, so we can have pressure at any time. We're gonna normal summon our DD Warrior. The third DD Warrior, by the way, it's really the third DD Warrior that gets you. I'm just gonna attack, and I top deck my DD Warrior, my second DD Warrior. So 5 out of 6 DD Warriors are already out of play. And when we're on turn 8, and we've already played 5 out of the possible 6 DD Warriors in our decks. And yeah, then I wanted to, maybe I should have activated Call of Haunted to summon the Berserk Gorilla early, and then establish an extra 2k light damage on my opponent, because my opponent just normal summons Tribe, but I guess it worked out in the end, because then now we get a plus off, because now we have a monster that can actually run it over. Whereas if I called Haunted the Berserk Gorilla a turn earlier, it would have gotten eaten by the Tribe. But now we can attack over the Tribe, so we can win +1 in that exchange, and top deck the Smashing Ground. So, and super simplified game states, and our opponent normal summons Exile Force. So, unfortunately, the DD loner has so much removal and monster removal that you're never gonna stick a monster. It's just never gonna happen. So you might as well just you gotta take your shots in while you can. Otherwise, like, you're never gonna establish any damage. Speaking of the normal summons DD Warrior Lady, and I saw it. There was an argument to be made, because I was gonna take 15 anyway, so my logic was I might as well Solomon, but I have a Smashing Ground in hand, so I could just take the 15 from the DD Warrior Lady, and then Smashing Ground the DD Warrior Lady, and then I had the Solemn available for later, and then the Solemn would only pay 750. But this also, like, kind of plays around Ring of Destruction too, because now we're at 15. So now Ring is dead as well, for both players. It's something to consider. Again, we're on turn 15. And now I'm hitting the point where I'm running out of monsters. So they're gonna normal summon their Mystic Swordsman level 2, which puts me on a 2-turn clock, as dumb as that sounds. So now I'm gonna normal summon Berserk Gorilla, attempt to attack over, and get hit by Sakura's armor. Again, like it's so rare to be able to connect an attack in this mirror match, just because of all the fucking removal both decks play. So now I have to use my Smashing Ground on a fucking Mystic Swordsman level 2 just to live. And yeah, my opponent doesn't top deck a monster. I top deck a Matting Cylinder. Might be important later, but opponent sets another one, and here I top deck a DDSA, which is a good draw, and attack, and they don't have another removal spell or removal trap for it, so that's good. Now I get the Cyber to 17. Now they're on a 3-turn clock. Effectively, they're on a 2-turn clock, because any monster they summon, if the Magic Cylinder resolves, it's enough to put them below 3400, which puts them dead to 2 DDSA attacks. And yeah, my opponent doesn't do anything, and I top deck a Return, which is insane in this matchup. It's like insane in the simplified game state, because everything is, we're both gonna have massive amounts of advantage cards. Whoever sees Return first is in a huge advantage. So they're gonna set another one, and here I top deck a DD Warrior Lady, and I normal summon DD Warrior Lady to play into a Torrential. They topped the Torrential for last turn, which I knew they were probably gonna have a Torrential at some point, but like, if I wanted to push for a game, I definitely need to get rid of the Torrential at some point. So yeah, they're gonna Torrential, and then I'm gonna flip the Return, which gets met by the Solemn, which is to be expected, but that's very important, because now the Solemn puts them at 900. And that was all bait, because now I pass it to my opponent's turn, and they're gonna normal summon Berserk Gorilla, and psych. you thought Magic Cylinder for game. To be honest, the Solemn didn't matter because they were already below 2k, But the Solemn just ensured that literally any monster they top deck would have put them dead to Magic Cylinder, not just the Berserk Gorilla. But yeah, that was a classic. That was man, that was some good old fashioned Yu-Gi-Oh. That was more turns than I had in my entire climb from Master 5 to Master 1 last season in that one game. So here we're playing one of the worst loaners out of the 6, which is the Fusion. You could argue this is the worst or at least the second worst loaner, mainly because it's so inconsistent. Like sometimes you can maybe high roll into like a big monster, but a lot of times you just can't do anything with it. So opponent is playing Gadgets, which is a real problem because Gadgets runs a ton of 1-for-1 removal, and they open Pot of Greed, so that's fantastic. Pass it back to me, and I activate Thunder Dragon to add 2 Thunder Dragons, and my only play for a push is activate Fusion Gate, and Fusion Gate banish my 2 Thunder Dragon, which this is one of the best hands that this deck can produce, because we open Fusion Gate plus Dimension Fusion plus Beam Return Burial. Like, what else could you ask for? And Sakura's armor hits the Twin Head of the Dragon. Again, this is why this deck is not good. You invest 2.5 cards, Fusion Gate plus 2 monsters, to summon one monster that dies to 1-for-1 monster removal. Like, come on, come on. Anyways, I'm gonna set Cyberjar, which is the only redeeming part of this hand that's left. And my opponent normal summons Green Gadget, get a search, and thankfully, this is one of the few cards that equalizes the Gadget matchup. So they're gonna attack in this Cyberjar, and I'm gonna pop everything, and then our opponent draws 5, and they reveal 2 Gadgets. So they reveal 2 more yellow Gadgets, which means that their entire train of Gadgets is now dead, because all 3 of their Gadgets, yellow Gadgets, are now out of rotation, which is very, very good against the Gadgets. One way to stop Gadgets is just make them draw all their Gadgets for it. And yeah, now it's my turn, and I could use the extra resources, because this is a fusion deck. I need to invest 2 monsters into every actual monster I summon, so getting an extra 5 cards is actually beneficial. Especially off of the Koji. The Koji is an amazing hit off of Cyberjar, because it comes flipped. And they're gonna set 4, which is like, this is still a lot to play through. 6 cards in hand plus 4 back row. Like, what the hell is this? So I'm gonna flip the Koichi, add Hex Field. I'm gonna use Fusion Gate again. No Regeki break out of them. I'm gonna special summon Black Meteor Dragon, enter battle phase, attack over one of the yellow Gadgets, and attempt to attack over the other one, and then get hit by the Sakura's armor, which another I love that. Another 2-for-1 trade for my opponent. Just what I needed. Then it goes to main phase 2, and I set another Dekoshi, and you're gonna Regeki break, hit my Ring of Destruction, which is the one I wanted them to not hit, which is unfortunate. Then you're gonna flip yellow Gadget, normal summon red Gadget, and they're smashing grounding my Dekoichi. That's the point of the game we're in. Thankfully, my opponent is out of Gadgets, so they're not gonna plus every time they summon a Gadget anymore. And now they're gonna end their battle phase attack over my other Dekoichi, which draws me another card. Draws me another Fusion Gate. Man, I love all the redundancy in this deck. Our opponent just leaves, which admittedly I was gonna wreck their ass next turn as soon as like I draw into a Heavy Storm or something, because we had a Dimension Fusion for 4 set up, which was actually might have swung the game, but probably still would have lost to the back row they had, but they just gave up. They're like, yeah, enough of this. I have too much Gadgets in my hand. I do not want to play this game out without all the Gadgets in my deck. So, I guess. So now we're playing with the Gravekeeper Loner, and this deck is just so good. I love having consistent access to Necro Valley, the entire card that this deck depends on. It's so consistent drawing Necro Valley. And our opponent Pots of Greed, opens Pot of Greed, what else is new, right? And they're playing Gravekeepers too. This is the one matchup where Gravekeepers can actually play and have a fair matchup in it, which is the mirror match. So they're gonna hit the Spy, which gets me my Spear Soldier, and I'm gonna smashing ground the Spy, just because it's really hard to out a Spy in this matchup when you don't have access to Necro Valley. And now they're gonna Snatch Steal. For some reason they Snatch Steal on my turn. I don't know why, because now they just gave me a free life point. And I'm gonna set another Spy, thank you. And they're gonna set on their monster, attack over the Spy, and then my Spy is gonna get me another Spear Soldier. Why? Because Spear Soldier is the worst monster in their deck. I just want to thin my deck out of Spear Soldiers. I don't need this shit. See, especially in the mirror match, Spear Soldier is so goddamn useless in the mirror match, because everything that's going to be in defense is not going to be able to be beat over by Spear Soldier in the first place. And the only things you can hit are Cat of Ill Omen and Cyberjar, but like, you really want to risk attacking into a spy by trying to high roll into one of these two cards with the Spear Soldier. Doesn't seem great to me. By the way, mind you, we're playing 6 combined copies of Necro Valley in our 2 decks, and neither of us has seen a Necro Valley yet. And without Necro Valley, both our decks fucking suck ass. So as you can tell, you know, we're just playing some... All 3 Spear Soldiers are gone, by the way. Just what I want. They're gonna play Necro Valley, finally, but it doesn't do anything. So the only thing that Necro really helps in the mirror match at all, because both players gain, well, both players' Gravekeeper monsters gain attack. The only thing that benefits off Necro Valley is Assailant, and I have access to the Assailant, so this is an advantage to me, because now my Assailant actually does something. And we're gonna enter battle phase, and they're gonna hit with the Ring Destruction on the. For some reason, they don't hit my Assailant; they hit my Spy, because the Spy is just really hard to get over in the mirror match, which I understand. But now they're gonna lose their Spear Soldier too, which we're quietly sneaking away with this. Also, the Cyberjar is absolutely terrible. I do not want to resolve Cyberjar. I'm ahead. You only want to activate this if you're behind, and currently we're a bit ahead in terms of the game state, because our opponent tries to crash the Spear Soldier, which is hit by the Saku, and now we're playing a Assailant control. So, pass to my turn. I know the Loner plays a Solemn Judgment, but fuck it, okay? If you have the Solemn Judgment, you have it. But they didn't, so now I get this established Gravekeeper Chief, attack over the Cyberjar, and that's, what did I say about this card being great when you're behind? Well, yeah, they just cleared my Assailant and my Chief, and now I get another Assailant plus a Guard and a Necro Valley, which, in fact, having double Necro Valley doesn't really do much in the mirror match, so we just have a bunch of dead cards in our deck now that one of us saw Necro Valley. And our opponent gets an MST and a Call of the Haunted, and gets 3 monsters, so this is going to be annoying as hell. Now, I all that hard work to get over their board, and now I have to attack over a bunch of face-down defense position fucking Gravekeeper monsters again. They're going to blind MST by Call of the Haunted. The literal worst... Could not pick a worse MST target. Literally, if they MST their own Necro Valley, it would have been better than MST the Call of the Haunted. Because this Call of the Haunted does not do a goddamn thing right now. And, yeah. Now, our opponent flips up Spy proactively to summon the Assailant, and then flips up Guard to put the Guard back, and then normal summon Assailant. They're trying to go for game, but, you know, trying to go for game against 2 back row generally is not going to work out for you. They use their resources for a push, but we end up surviving it anyways. And now, the big part is now that our Gravekeepers, Guards, and Spy are in attack position on their own volition. So now these can be run over by anything, including Snatch Stealing the Gravekeeper's Assailant. And now I'm going to attack over their own Spy with their own Assailant. So yeah, Assailant Control is the name of the game in the mirror match. Activate another Necro Valley, which is a bit dangerous because it gives their Spear Soldiers an extra attack, which makes piercing over Cat of Ill Omen a bit rough. But I do have the Solemn and the Book, so I feel generally okay. The gain life points doesn't really matter. Again, it's all about control. It's not about OTKing unless you're behind, and we're certainly not behind. Especially since Cat of Ill Omen it's just going to add a Rite of Spirits to apply more pressure on the next turn. Enter battle phase, I'm going to change the Guard to attack over with the Assailant. Again, this is why Assailant is so great in this match. And we're going to just set two more back row and a Guard. And opponent gains life points. Again, they have more life points than they started with, but it doesn't matter. Then they're going to flip Torrential on the flip summon the Cat of Ill Omen, which we have the Solemn Judgment for. So now we're down to 13, and now the Ring of Destruction, they already used it, so it doesn't matter in that sense, but yeah, we negate their Solemn their Torrential Tribute with Solemn, and they're going to add their own right to hand. They're going to normal summon Guard, attack for game, or the Cat of Ill Omen. Again, that's surely your Gravekeeper Guard attack is going to connect through 2 unknown back row, right? But yeah, we have a book, so I'm going to flip the Cat of Ill Omen, they're going to attack into it, and then it gets flip face up, and I get to add another Solemn to hand. So yeah, thank you for the free Solemn. Then they're going to attack into the Gravekeeper's Guard, and then I'm, for some reason, don't know why, with the Cat of Ill Omen, I don't know what you were trying to achieve, trying to attack into a face down with your Cat of Ill Omen. Like, were you trying to run over with my second Cat of Ill Omen? But instead you just end up losing 2,400 life points. And then your Gravekeeper Guard gets bounced back to your hand, so you lose tempo as well. And now it's just game. So I'm gonna attack. I'm gonna also Spirit Reaper attack over the Caterpillar Element. Like they just literally handed me game on a silver platter. It wasn't actually game this turn if they did not attack into my face down guard with their Caterpillar Element, but they did because I guess it was a 15 turn game, so I guess they were getting impatient. But yeah, that's how you navigate the Gravekeeper mirror. Again, our opponent, yeah. That was just impatience on our opponent's part that cost them. All right, so here we're gonna show off a pretty cursed interaction in this game. First of all, this hand we're playing the Horus loader, and this hand is some doo doo caca, some dog water. It's to be expected. You can't expect too much from the loaners all the time. And we top back into a Luster Dragon, which is a playable monster, so we got there. And my opponent set a Cyberjar, which was, would have been a little dicey if that resolved. But yeah, now waiting for our opponent to do something, and they normal summon King the Swamp and activated Swords of Revealing Light. So, what our opponent, we are now in the coughing baby elo, and opponent normal summons King of the Swamp for absolutely no reason at all. And they activate Swords of Revealing Light. So here's the neat thing. Okay, I'm going to tribute summon Horus of the Black Flame Dragon. Horus of the Black Flame Dragon is unaffected by spell effects. So the Swords of Revealing Light does not actually stop me from attacking. So, cool. Very interesting. That this Horus deck basically directly counters the entire fusion deck. It's wow, like none of their spells will do anything versus you. So we go into Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8, which, funnily enough, Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8 does get stopped by Swords of Revealing Light, while it's level 6 bypasses it, which is very funny, but, we'll see. It's a worthwhile exchange. So they're going to discard for Thunder Dragon, and, yeah, activate Fusion Gate, negates, activate Poly, negates, activate a second poly. Surely surely the second poly will resolve. Surely. No, it's no. Yeah, that's who says old school Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have any negates. we just got infinite negates right there. All right, this is I was contemplating whether I should show this game, because this game basically shows me beating up a small child. Because once again, they're on the Fusion Loaner, and the Fusion Loaner doesn't do a goddamn thing half the time. Which this is exactly what happens to our opponent. Our opponent passes on literally nothing, just a bunch of fusion cards and nothing to actually fuse with. And it goes to my turn, and I activate Pot of Greed because I'm a skilled player, and yeah, I'm sure you already saw it. You saw what happened. Oh, yeah, and it's how we know we're playing against new players here. It's yeah. Summon Breaker. Set the defusion. Why not? Why not set the dimension fusion? Surely that wouldn't be useful in hand later on. Yeah. So at the very least, this game activate the second fusion gate from hand for no reason at all. Okay. At the very least, this game showcases what the Spirit deck is supposed to do. The Spirit deck, I think, is ass. I think the Spirit deck is probably the worst loaner out there, but when our opponent literally does absolutely nothing, the Spirit deck can cook. So yeah, now we set the Magician of Faith, and now we're going to knock their face down, get a Spirit Reaper, get that out of there. Magician of Faith, add the Pot of Greed to hand, and activate Pot of Greed, draw 2, and Tsukiyomi set the Magician of Faith, and here we go. We got this is the Tsukiyomi Magician of Faith lock. Or not lock, but Magician of Faith resource loop with a Pot of Greed engrave. So, yeah. Yep, that's... wow, this is literally bullying. They're going to activate Swords of Revealing Light to flip my Magician of Faith face up, which is going to get me back my Pot of Greed 1 turn earlier. And this is even more disgusting because now it passes to my turn, and I'm going to activate Pot of Greed. I'm going to draw 2, and we're going to act normal Tsukiyomi, flip the Magician of Fate. Because it was flipped up last turn, I can flip the Magician of Fate again, add the Pot of Greed back to my hand, activate Pot of Greed again. I have to activate a Pot of Greed 4 times this game. And now we're going to Ultimate Offering, and I'm going to set monster from my hand because I'm going to hit. Because I have too many cards in hand. I literally have too many cards in hand. I have to tribute set my monster so that I wouldn't have to discard the end phase. And our opponent just ain't doing a goddamn thing. So now we're gonna put it to defense, and they're gonna summon back their call the Haunted King of the Swamp. Man, that deck is they kills my Magician of Faith, and passes back to me. That's just waiting for the Swords of Revealing Light to expire, and the Dark Dust Sphere pops everything, and then I set the Magician of Faith, and I Ultimate Offering set another one because I'm gonna have to discard again. So now the Swords dies, and they're gonna normal summon the Bazoo, and check out this interaction. So you're gonna enter battle phase. I'm gonna Ultimate Offering in the battle phase, tribute my monster to summon Dark Dust Sphere in the battle phase, and pop the board. That's actually a cool interaction. It's definitely necessary after resolving Pot of Greed 5 times. Yeah. Wow, it's you can really tell. Like I know it's Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of times, you know, it's based on the luck of the draw, but you can really tell a difference in how a game shapes up based on who, you know, has played the format and knows what they're doing or not. But yeah. So yeah, even as you can see, playing some unoptimized decks built by Konami, that you can still have some very entertaining games this event. And let me know if you're interested in seeing actual constructed decks you can build for this event for cheap, because I'm definitely going to be playing this event more while it's still here. Because, you know, I got plenty of time to prepare for Duelist Cup and to play ranked. But we only got this event for a few more days. And hopefully, after like a day, everyone that's playing this event just to get the 3 packs and like wants to leave after that is gone, so that the only people left playing this event are going to be people that actually try hard this event, or people that actually want to play this event for fun, and then that hopefully will filter out into so that we can have even better games against real constructed decks. But yeah, I definitely have some decks cooked up for this event that I can't wait to play. And let me know if you guys are also having as much fun with this event as I am, or as I'm about to, because you know, I got to build the decks first, but afterwards, yeah, I can see myself having a blast with the rest of the 3 days that this event is gonna be live for.